Hi there, welcome to Carcassonne. Today it's Thailand's Carcassonne Online Championship, still the round robin stage, but as you can see on the matches played, at least, no, exactly 3 of them have already played all 6 matches, so only 2 matches to go. There's Pakshi versus Gun, and there's today's match, chawin053 versus idinidad. And if you look over here, it's a tight affair. Idinidad definitely needs to win to still have a chance to get into the top 4, which qualify to the playoffs. And considering these tiebreakers here, if idinidad would win with a 2-1 score, all 3 would have the same tiebreakers, and it would come down to the difference in points scored in their matches, because if you have a quick look at the cross table, in this case idinidad would have 1-2 loss and the 2-1 win versus chawin, and Napira as well, and the same would be true for chawin. So in that case, the game between Pakshi and Gun has even more relevance, because if Pakshi would then win 2-0, Gun would have a games difference of 7-7, or 7 games won to 7 games lost, and would be ranked in 5th place. So a lot riding on today's game. Let's quickly check the statistics. Chawin, quite heavily oscillating, but with 9,000 games, pretty experienced. And then there's idinidad, 4,000 something games, so half of chawin's played, but reached the master threshold sometime earlier this year. Right now they are almost equal. If we check their history, well, we'll see that idinidad still should be the favorite, and at least is in my book for sure. But it's Carcassonne, as I are prone to say. Everything might happen. So it's spot. So let's see. I think the time's right. Yeah, the time's right. So they should start any second now. And here we go. First move by idinidad. Chawin takes the first points on the board. And we'll see a road attack here or there, quite likely. Or maybe a more advanced move like this, trying to build a loop road and forcing yellow to get 2 road ends. Yeah, it's the regular attack. Only downside would be crossroads and then losing an 8-point road, but not in this case. So let's see if chawin even adds this to the roads. I guess I wouldn't, because you'd only risk losing with a 4 to a 6-point road. Yeah, so not great. This could happen, and then you'd be down 2 points. So I'd rather dump this somewhere and still have 2 options to connect with the curve. And in this case, creating a pressure point against yellow city on the left side might have worked as well. So now he more or less has to connect, takes the city cap, of course, and we'll see the beginnings of a huge field. And let's see who plays the first farmer. I expect it any second now. So maybe, yeah, this trade should work fine. Obstruct yellow city, add a farmer. In some cases, even obstruct both these cities. Maybe like this, and later this here. Yeah, this is likely even better, because two of the right-handed daggers are already gone, so any field piece from the bottom into yellow city would limit this to a 50-50 flip. Oh, it was yellow's turn. Yeah, okay, then this is definitely a good move. Yeah, you need the Rotorito, but there are still 5 in the deck, and it's on top of that rather easy to defend if blue were to try and act against it. So monastery, why not? It's your field connection anyway. 5 points. You still have enough meeples in hand, so do not waste monasteries. If you can, by any means, use them productively. Yeah, will we see Chawin at least creating a problem for this monastery, even though this would or could be end in obstructed city of his own, or will he just take the points up top, or maybe try to harass this city or even that one? Well, that's my least favorite move in this case, even though it pressures both these cities. There are still 2 starting tiles out there, although if you can limit this to a starting tile, then yellow has the problem of first needing to get that one and then still having an iffy square up top. But it's pretty likely that yellow would be able to defend, and the problem with this is that the defense for sure would come with a field attack, and an unblockable one at that. And that's why I don't like this one. At least not with a tile you could use productively somewhere else. With a straight, it would have been another animal. But even then, most often in these cases, the best way would be to add a city part over here. That's rather tricky to defend. So idinidad more or less has control of the field. So I wouldn't go here. That's just helping blue's monastery and city. Instead, exactly, this here works pretty nice. Killing the monastery spot for blue, adding 2 caps to, in quotes, your field, and also a nice effective way of continuing your monastery build. So blue quite likely will equalize here now, taking the 3 points. Or will they defend? Well, there are still 3 vanillas out there, so the defense should be in order. But do you then add a farmer? That's the question. And considering this one here will quite likely decide the game, I would add the farmer even now. You still have this one on the left. That's easy to liberate. Monastery shouldn't be hard to get back as well. And maybe you're able to kill this square here. Let's see. And of course, yellow has this one, which is tough to liberate for them. Yeah. And so blue exerts pressure onto this square, and once they block this to the starting tile as well, chances of this one being finalized anytime in the game will dwindle down to maybe 10%, maybe even less. Just very difficult at first to get the 2 remaining starting tiles, and then to luck out and have blue not being able to block you after getting the first one. So this here, and then any road piece basically kills the square. So in this case, I might not have added this here, because I'd rather try to play against this square, or these 2 even. For now, it's still yellow in the lead, but once this here completes, or yellow gets another monastery, blue should take the lead, although with the monastery scoring 6 points, it would be still yellow's lead. And ideally, they would get the monastery and then a city cap with a farmer. But that's the penultimate vanilla that I got. So 2 in short succession, and now there's only 1 piece left to liberate blue's monastery, which should be quite annoying. And that's why they didn't block this square here to the remaining road monastery, because this farmer here might need to connect there when this here might not work out in the end, and this route is a tad more adventurous. We'll see if he even makes it to the main field. So idinidad could even try to block this one. but nah. The problem with this though is it would create this sinister hamster here, so evil hamster with one empty square, and blue is way more likely to use that as long as you've got this square here. So really no incentive to do that. This way you'd leave the road here. Yeah, not ideal. Yeah, but still the better of the two options. And at least you take away quite a lot of pieces that would have helped Blue's monastery and would have helped Blue liberate the two meeples that are over here. So chawin still quite likely won't act against this square. They'd really like to kill this option here first, and then it's no biggie to limit this to a road monastery. So here we go. That's the first of two remaining starting tiles, and this configuration right now is exactly why I didn't like that straight. It prevents you acting against this square. At -14, maybe even this year, would be in the consideration. Well, that's arguably worse. So now, yep, just this here works, and still hopes riding on the last remaining vanilla city cap. There's still this option for yellow, but now, yeah, they go for the kill. They could have also protected this square, so there would still be both monasteries there. But given that blue didn't do anything against this one here, why should you even? Yeah, here we go. Works like a charm for yellow. And if this straight weren't there, well, then blue could have used the Dorito to at least prevent this city from closing the city cap. This is also rather tough to block, except for the dagger option. So if you'd get a Dorito, diagonal splitter, or big city tile, this could be limited to the one remaining left-handed dagger. And of course, there are no crossroads in the deck. So this here would be a kill. But it's okay anyway. For once, it scores 6 points, and then there's this option, or rather this way, of connecting it through the back door. So this here is dead now after blue's sacrifice, which, well, I'm not actually a fan of. With this many Doritos out there was still a chance to close this city. Of course, hopes riding on this starting tile. But this you'd like to get anyway, so not sure if this kill in this shape was really that urgent. So what should yellow do now? Okay, they indirectly protect the square. Blue limits this one to the last remaining left-handed dagger. But as I said, quite likely they'll crawl on this side. Maybe they just connect here to prevent the worst outcome for them, which would be blue getting the vanilla and then blocking this square with a curve. And it looks like they take the rather secure way. At now plus 18, that's actually fine. Nah, not a fan. Have a look at this, maybe even this one. Although that would allow a block with the road monastery. This here would secure the monastery, but it would be blockable from the top. Yeah, and that just might be the dagger in blue's hopes here. Yellow gets all 3 vanilla caps which were remaining after blue placed the curve here. So just not a lucky draw. Now they definitely need to get the regular monastery. Would score 8 points. And then they might still have a chance. If yellow gets the monastery, it will be extraordinary tough for blue. Yellow would use it over here and connect their farmer to the field. Also, they still have the dagger to connect, so nope. Like this. So yeah, tough. 4 gifted points by blue. But this also creates this attacking option. Once you get something, the city part on it. And this actually isn't a great idea if you intended to use this as attacking option. And this year, sure, you can limit yellow's attack, but there'd still be 3 pieces left to successfully connect there. But at least to take away these options, although the monastery would be used elsewhere. Yellow goes for the points, and the meeple back. No, actually not for the points. They hadn't any meeple in hand, so they just took their meeple back. Given they still have quite a good chance to connect there, because it's very unlikely. Yeah, sorry, I missed. Blue hadn't played there. Yeah. Then yellow was guaranteed to connect either here or there on this move, because all pieces that weren't either connections here or there. And now this one is done because blue only could tie this field, and this wouldn't help them. Still not enough points. And we'll see if Chawin fares better in the second game. I mean, this year was indeed unlucky, but it's bound to happen in roughly 1 in 8 games to not get at least 1 out of 3 identical pieces, or specific pieces for that matter. Yeah, so precise move here, taking the 9-point road, deducting these 6 points because the farm gets united with the main one where yellow already had a majority. But I earlier talked about the points difference maybe having implications in the end, and losing a game in this lopsided way definitely doesn't bode well for Chawin's point difference. So let's see how this turns out in the end and how this impacts the standings. Here's game 2, and idinidad with the first piece gets a nice shiny shielded cow. Chawin with slight obstruction, everything normal so far. Idinidad prefers to dump the road piece at the bottom, creating an option to put pressure on blue's road. Not adding this over here because this would give an attacking option, of course. In this case, I would have quite likely preferred this option, as then it would have been easier to go here and limit this square, so attacks and blocking moves from blue from the right side against the city wouldn't be that easy as they are now. Chawin doesn't add a second meeple over here, although there was this attacking spot available, and now he gets to suffer because he skimmed on this meeple here. Yeah, perfect over here. Putting pressure on blue's road. And even if blue would continue there, it would help your monastery as well. So will we see any protection here? No, we won't, because there are still all 3 daggers for the square available. And there is a nice road there. Well, 4 points, so why not just take this one? This here could turn into a nice field, but it could also turn into a ravaged field, depending on these squares here. So idinidad's problem with this road, of course, is can't really continue here unless you get something with a city part, else using this straight, for example, this would only give an option to your opponent to attack this city. So likely he has to wait with this one either for the city to be completed, which blue quite likely won't do, or for the right draw over here. And therefore, the best option quite likely was to create this obstruction platform against blue's city. Yeah, he's reluctant to place anything here because then this square could be restricted to the same dagger yellow already needs for their city up top. But this here is annoying as well. Guess the next road piece will go onto here, even though there's the risk of city takeover by blue. Blue doesn't mind obstructing their own city just for an attack against yellows, but in this case, why don't you turn the curve the other way? Well, because it could create a loop road, but it's also more likely that yellow would get a piece that couldn't save their city. So they protect indirectly. Quite likely they'll now use the monastery here and meeple it. Even though one of the 3 daggers is gone, it's still a good monastery with a fairly high completion rate. So yeah, shall I do it? Walk, walk, walk. That's the chicken move. I mean, come on, you have 2 meeples in hand. There are multiple you could get. This here, still the 4 crossroads available. This here, the Dorito, maybe this monastery, or this one with a few moves. Why not play a bit more effective like that? Efficiently, not effective. Although it has an effect as well. Yeah, blue's road caught in a monastery sandwich of yellow. That's a nice option. Adding the road end there, but they still use this 3-point road beforehand. At least I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. Adding the curve over here would only allow yellow to easily get a second meeple in hand, and that's not a good idea. And yeah, okay. This priority is not the worst, because with yellow only having the one meeple in hand, doing something against their city definitely is worth the sacrifice, or at least temporary sacrifice, of these 3 points, be it an obstruction or, of course, preferred by blue, the attack here. In this state of the game, where yellow even has to play rather risky moves like that, to remind you, this attack would be easy for blue, but in this case, it's not that problematic, as blue needs attacking pieces and of the same configuration with fields, but on different sides. For these two places, these two cities, so perfect timing for yellow to get the straight now. Yeah, will we see something like that? Rather this way. Not sure I like this orientation, though. You take away the option to attack the city from the bottom and give yellow the option of using Doritos like that, and then there's no attack possible against it. And this here would at least have allowed you to pressure 2 squares. So here we go. There is one Dorito. Blue even killed the attacking option here, although they are the ones with the meeple majority. Now try a secondary attack, but yellow gets a rose to defend. Slight consolation for blue. They get the penultimate right-handed dagger, so there's only one available to close this city and maybe even take the 6-point farm. This here I didn't like, even though it protects this city from a yellow takeover. But in this case, they are behind anyway, where yellow... no, this was this later? No, this was beforehand. Where yellow threatens to tie your most valuable feature. I think waiting over here and just hoping to hit the 50-50 for the next attacking piece would be a good chance to equalize the score, and would be definitely worth the risk. So meanwhile, these 2 squares are dead, as there are no starting tiles left. And then yellow wins this mini battle 7 with plus 7 points. Also, because blue didn't take this road, yellow was able to add a curve here and is only a curve away from getting a meeple back. And even though this would be a -1 point move for them, I'm pretty sure they'll take this one, as it's not that easy for blue to liberate the road. There's actually only one chance. There was only one chance. Now this road is dead, as they only can fill one of these squares with a straight. Before this dagger move, they could have used a crossroad over here and would have then at least gotten their road meeple back if yellow were to draw the remaining straight. So yeah, I think the straight is critical as well, because this would give yellow this meeple back for a 0-point move. And with the splitter now, they could do something like that just to dump it, but because this would limit this square and there are still 3 Doritos out there, I wouldn't do anything about it. But the problem is, where do you dump this then? One way would be, yeah, this one, exactly. So blue limits this, still a Dorito and, well, no cow anymore. So only a field Dorito available to connect there. So that's critical as well. Blue prevents yellow from closing the city easily. Yellow defense adds 2 points there. Blue gets the juicy monastery over here, which is rather easy to liberate, and in many cases even comes with 3 additional road points. And now this game is tied. But there are these 3 high impact tiles for yellow. Straight over here, the dagger there, and the field Dorito on the right side to connect to blue's city. There's still a chance this city could close, and there's still a chance blue could even take it over again. So a block over here wouldn't be the worst move. And in this case, when you just dump the monastery, I'd rather have it played here. Yeah, but that's not the case. Yellow gets the dagger anyway. Blue creates an attacking platform against this square. Let's see if they follow through. Yep, they do. So this is killed as the last cow was placed up top. And yellow gets the next high impact tile. And now they are at plus 17. Slight consolation for blue. Difference down to 13 points. And they have more meeples. I would expect yellow to prevent this one from being closed. No. There's a 4-point road. Well, yeah, that works then. The problem for blue is there aren't big features to take over. So there's this yellow 6-point field, this yellow 6-point field, although still one dagger out there. to enlarge this. At 17 points with only one meeple extra. Oh, that's a tough ask. And there are no juicy fields available. The best they could have hoped for would have been this splitter like this, and another city for 7 points. But they just get a lousy curve and might even be forced to use it up top and then just hope that they would be able to close this on their next turn without yellow being able to obstruct it in any way. A field attack just won't net you enough points now. So this is one of these cases where there are options or permutations still for blue to win, but without getting the perfect pieces, it's pretty unlikely. Yellow could just take the 2 points here and kill this. Although with blue having this one on the right side, nah, I think that's good. Problem would have been if blue were to draw the dagger and later the splitter. And what is this? If you wanted to win this game, then you had to place a farmer there. There's just no other way. Then the dagger for 7, which would equal 13 points, and that's just the difference in this game. So terrible, terrible mistake by blue. Now they get limited to the remaining crossroad and has a junky piece in hand. Would be nice for yellow over here, of course, adding another city to their farm, but they can't. And quite likely they'll count and then kill this city. And it's over. Idinidad will win this one 2-0 and secure a playoff spot. They'll rise in the standings to at least the 3rd place. Yeah, that's actually even more precise, as this doesn't give a point to blue. And there's nothing blue could add here, of course. Yeah, monastery worth 6 points. So it would have worked. Farmer here, taking the city with the dagger, of course, adding the monastery. Quite likely that would have been enough. That's what I mentioned earlier. There still are permutations which would be working out in blue's favor, but this one didn't, and well, some of their moves weren't ideal as well. Yeah. He writes, I'm totally defeated. Yeah. That's an apt characterization of these results here. So let's take a quick look at the standings. So let me try again. Idinidad at 3 match wins, 9-7. Chawin at 7-9. So Chawin is out of the running, moved into 5th place, whereas idinidad leapfrogs Natpira and might be able to take over Gun as well. This depends on whether Gun would be able to win versus Pakshi or not. Right now, both are at +2 game wins and 3 match wins. But if Gun were to lose versus Pakshi, the +1 would at least be the +2 would at least be a +1, maybe +0. Null. I'm sorry, this was German. Or 0 or not, whatever. So idinidad still has a chance to leapfrog Gun as well, depending on whether Gun would lose versus Pakshi or not. Pakshi has secured the 1st place, so Pakshi, let me quickly check. Well, it's not guaranteed that Pakshi would play versus Natpira, who is currently in 4th place. Because if Pakshi were to win 2-0 versus Gun, then Gun would be at 7-7 game wins, 2 game losses, and Natpira would be able to take over Gun, and therefore Natpira would be in 3rd and Gun in 4th place. And then Pakshi, after beating Gun, would play a best of 3 against them. And these other 2 would meet in the semis, but we'll see. Let's quickly check if there's already a scheduled match. No, that's not scheduled. So if it works out for me, I'll cover this as well. I guess there's no one in the chat that would have anything to say. For those who are still here, I've got polls in the community section on YouTube. Please check them out. I've got a few questions regarding the coverage of team matches. I'd really appreciate if you leave a comment there, or at least click a few buttons. Thanks for now. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.